Remember when we got back from living in Hawaii and when we got back from living in Colorado? In both times, we got back and just looked at the place that we had once lived and we were amazed.
Yeah, it's funny because you can be someplace for a while and start to sort of the luster begins to kind of fade a little bit. You think of
Right.
everything that's wrong. And yeah, when we got back, I especially remember from Hawaii because it had been warm tropically for the most part. And we came back in March and it was winter. There was snow on the ground. It wasn't even the prettiest time of winter. And yet we were just astounded by the texture of the bark of the oak
Oh,
trees and
smells.
yeah, the freshness yeah, it was amazing. So,
The everyday moments of life that had been missed by us when we were living in it and all the time, and then missed by us in a different way when we're away from it, right? And
right.
then we came back and realized what we had been missing.
That's funny the way that that word is being used. You can miss something as in you don't see it, or you can miss something as in you long for it. That's kind of funny.
So, what we have is that life is made up of all these, what you and I call small moments,
Mm.
or these small details of life. And that is the mass of our life that usually we're often just missing out on completely. And today, we are going to share with you how to embrace those small moments and make them precious
Oh
again.
my gosh, precious moments. Do you know precious moments are used to be little figurines when I was growing up? I was wondering, I was just thinking, I wonder if he's going to say precious. And then, anyway, and then we've been reading Lord of the Rings, so then all I can think of is, yeah.
Precious.
Okay, well, small moments.
Every day is filled with these small moments. These are the moments when we are cooking a meal, when we're doing dishes, when we're answering an email, when we're just doing yard work, when
Mm.
we're carrying groceries from the car to the house, cleaning,
Driving.
driving,
Oh, there's, I mean, a
thousand
million of them.
things. And if you notice these small moments, the things that often defines them for us is that a small moment is something that is leading, hopefully, to a good moment, a big moment, the important ones in life, right?
Okay, so in a weird way, it's like a video game. You gather all the little small moments and then they kind of equal something really
Big and special.
special. Yeah. Yeah. Or
Oh,
at least the small moments are things to get through until some other exciting novelty comes along
the
or
big
some
stuff.
big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a regular mundane scale, it's kind of like cooking a meal. The cooking is something that is just a preamble to
Mm.
the meal where you're going to sit down and enjoy the meal. And often we think of these small moments as, I used to think of them as stepping stones on the way to the big things that we're after.
Hmm.
But then we started to think of them a little bit differently.
Well, let's just call it like it is.
Okay, let's do it.
There are only small moments. In fact, there's only ever one moment, and that's this moment,
Ooh,
which is like,
Zen.
woo, way out there. Okay. But
No, it's not at all, but it's pretty Zen.
I guess it's just if you
Ninja
see it,
Jedi Zen Master.
Jedi.
Jedi. I can't even say it. That's what you
Ninja.
are. You're being that right now. You're always looking
No,
for that. There
I
you are.
mean, whatever. I think it's important to realize that there's nothing wrong with looking forward to a bigger event, but you'll miss it if you aren't training yourself for the small moments. And by that, I just mean training your brain, because we're always training ourselves. We talked about that before. Training yourself to see and be present in the small moments. Because if you can't do that with small moments, then when you get to the big moment, we've talked about this, it'll be great and amazing for a while. But anything that we stay in for a certain amount of time, eventually it falls into the category of the small moment, and it suddenly loses its luster again. So in the practice of training ourselves to be present in the small moments, then when we are in a big moment, we can really, really be there as well. I don't know. Did that make sense when I said that?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
basically the whole podcast, actually.
Oh,
We're
darn.
going to do that slowly over
okay,
time.
let's talk about something else then, since we already finished with everything that was. That's not true. That was just the back of the dust jacket.
Yeah, I mean, to step back, these small moments can go from being stepping stones to those big moments, to recognizing that what they really start to become are just obstacles,
Ooh,
just
yeah.
kind of hindrances, things that we want to get rid of in order to get to the big moment. So it's not just something we're doing that's important in order to get to the goal. It's like, why do I even have to do this cooking stuff?
Yeah, well, what it reminds me of is our micro goals. We did some micro goal video, and when you get take those things seriously and get attached to them. It's like the small moment, I need to do this, and it becomes kind of this chopped up list of this is this little goal, and then I have to do this in order to, if you're making a meal, first I have to chop the onions, and then I saute them, and then I do this, and then I do that, and it's all these little micro goals, and we take them kind of seriously, like we need to get done, and heaven forbid, we've talked about this with the micro goals, someone come along and go, hey, hang on a second, and you think, no, I can't hang on a second, I am cooking supper, okay? And right now I'm not even eating supper, I'm doing all this small stuff that's no fun. But of course, that's totally not true, because some people have discovered the joy of cooking, and the joy of cooking is being there with the elements every step of the way.
Now, we live in a culture, of course, where this small moment of cooking that becomes so annoying, it's easily circumvented, because now we can get a Hungry Man dinner and we can skip the cooking part and just get right to the eating, or we can go to a fast food place. And our culture celebrates all of these conveniences, these things that help us to skip over those small moments and just get to the big moments.
Forget about those.
Right.
Yeah.
And so over time, we're learning this thing that you've talked about here, is that the small moments are something to be shooed away. The big moments are what we're after. But then, as you noted, we start to discover that the big moments when we get there are less shiny than we thought they were.
Yeah.
And the real magic happens when, again, as you said, we start to discover, well, wait a second. Those Hungry Men dinners, they were kind of robbing me of something. They were robbing me of the cooking, which actually some people really enjoy. Maybe I could enjoy it too, maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading a book recently, and the author said something that really caught my eye, which was, I'm just going to paraphrase it because I don't remember it exactly, but they were saying you could be the kind of person where you hear some loud music and you think, oh man, that's so, why are they playing their rock music so loud? Blah. But then the author pointed out, but on the flip side, for someone else, that is their delight. Like, yeah, woo, we're rocking it. And I think it doesn't take too much of a stretch of the imagination to realize that we ourselves have things that we love, that delight us, that somebody else goes, oh my gosh, no, you're going to listen to classical music and knit by your fire? Come on, lady. That is like, it's like the worst thing I could think of. But none of that's the point. The point is that if that's true, that there's all these different things that delight us in the world and things that we're pushing away from, we can choose at any moment to flip around and decide, hey, that could delight me. If it could delight somebody else, why not me? And so, sure, why not try cooking? If somebody else out there loves it, probably, you could too if you chose to be that person. And obviously you could take that train of thinking too far. But the point of any of these concepts or ideas that we are using is to use them so your life feels better, so you can enjoy it and share it with others and make other people's lives better. So use those concepts in such a way that you can expand yourself. And instead of shrinking, you can open. And I feel like that's what happens when you start to look for and try to treasure the small moments as you begin to open all of the experiences of your life. Suddenly it's not just get rid of all that stuff. Yeah, now I've got my big prize. Woo, it's the party. Woo. It's every one of these moments is the party. And suddenly you don't just have these blobs of big moments, kind of, here's one. It's this kind of never ending up and down of all these small moments, and some are bigger and some are smaller. But I don't know. For me, I've had some small moments that are almost more amazing than some big things that I thought were going to be incredible.
So what you're saying, correct me if I'm incorrect, here we have our life. It's composed 90% of small moments, which are supposed to lead us to the big, important moments. So we've got all these inconveniences trying to lead us towards the thing we're trying to do, whether that's eat dinner or arrive at our destination or get to the lovemaking or whatever it's going to be.
I was going to say get married, but yeah, close enough.
Get married, yeah. Have kids. So when we start to look at that, we start to see, wow, wait a second. I'm spending 90% of my life to get to the 10%. And furthermore, we're saying that we're training our minds by just trying to blow through that 90%. So that when we get to that 10%, we are losing our ability to actually appreciate those moments. And often we will get that peak moment and be like, whoa, cool, this is a novelty, and it's over. Okay, where's the next one?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. No,
it's fine. Go.
No.
Okay, well, it's just, it made me think that it's kind of how we amplify. Is that what you're going to say?
No.
Okay. It's how we amplify in our culture. Bigger, better, more.
Okay, yeah.
Faster.
Because
that one moment suddenly, since we can't find the treasure in each small moment and we need the bigger moment, then we need more of the bigger moment, and the bigger moment needs to be bigger than the other bigger moment.
So we get this in a host of the kind of addictive things that we do. We'll watch a junk YouTube video, and that's kind of a little peak moment, but we aren't able to really enjoy it. It just sort of feeds us a little bit, but doesn't feed our nourishment. And so then we're seeking another one and another one and another one. And pretty soon we spent 4 hours sitting there watching junk videos on YouTube. And it could be movies, it could be
tons of things.
Peak experience, yeah. And so, okay, so we have that second part where those are losing their shine.
Right.
But then you're flipping this whole thing on its head and saying, these small moments can be the big moments.
Yeah.
The small moments can be the precious stuff.
Yeah.
And if we make those precious, that 90%, make those amazing, then when we get to the 10%, those are super amazing.
Yeah, but you gotta practice it.
Gotta practice it.
I just want to say that, tell me if this is true for any of you. Have you ever had a scare? It could be a health scare. It could have been, you came close to having an accident, there's all sorts of ways in which we can, for a moment, feel really strongly the tenuousness of life. And in that moment, or maybe the moments following it, suddenly everything comes very present to us. And we're very in that one moment. And we might look at our spouse or our siblings or our children or where we live or whatever. And we might think, oh, wow, oh my gosh, just being with this person or just seeing this thing is like the pinnacle. You could think, okay, I was on the brink of death, and then now look, here I am. Do I need to be so specific? You might have had something you were arguing with your partner with, and then suddenly it's like, that doesn't matter. Just like hold my hand because here you are. And so I'm just calling that forth into anybody's mind if you've experienced that, because That is how we can experience many small moments. I'm not at the point where every moment is, I can't experience all my small moments yet, but I'm working towards it. But we can get more and more and more, and we can train ourselves towards that. And that's where you can see those small moments have a preciousness if we are there for them.
I felt that this morning.
This morning?
Yeah, this morning.
Oh, wow.
This morning. I woke up.
In your cold shower?
In your arms. No, in bed with you.
Oh.
And I was harkened back to a time in our past when I had a fear and an anxiety that was eating at me, where I thought that maybe I wouldn't get to experience that with you ever again. And that moment then suddenly became precious. And I soaked into it, and I still can feel the reverberations of the warmth and the goodness of that feeling that happened all the way this morning. It's for us, it's almost dinner time right now. And that, wow, is the power of it. What if these small moments are the vast treasures of life? And we've been squandering them the whole time, throwing them away when they are what life is actually made of. That morning, that moment this morning, wow. Again, I can still feel it. And our whole life, our whole day is filled with these moments. That's one way. It hails from Stoicism and it hails from some Buddhist thought, is to use the thought of the loss of something to recognize something as precious. So we might take for granted the people in our life, our child, and just we're snappy with them and we're all crabby with them all the time.
Irritated because we're trying to get through our small moments. Would you stop? Would you leave me alone? Because I have like a zillion small moments, okay, before I can get to the thing I'm excited about. Well, I mean, as a parent, sometimes I felt that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then imagining the loss of that child for a moment. Sometimes that can snap us back into recognizing what we've been missing out on. So invoking the loss. But there's other ways that aren't quite as scary and dark.
That's not my favorite way, but sometimes it's the only thing that will get my attention, and that's okay. Powerful. You got to use your tools when you got to use your tools, and if that's the one you need, then use it. There's lots of other ways. I think probably we talk about this a lot, but meditation, beginning a practice of training your brain, and just regular meditation or focus on breath is a great way to help just see that you can observe the mind without necessarily having to get attached to it. And that's helpful because then when you are in your small moments and you start to make your lists and your micro goals and you start to go, oh, I can't wait to get done with that and done with that, you can see, oh, wait, look, I'm just doing that. It's kind of what our mind does in meditation. And I don't have to get attached and be carried along on that. It's okay. I can come back to this one moment where I'm in.
That one's really important because if we know what's going on in our mind, then we have more of an ability to kind of work with this situation. So if we're not aware of our mind's activity, this is all happening on autopilot. But if we start to notice, what we're going to find is that when we're in small moment mode, thinking of those moments as small and something to be dispensed with, what's actually happening during that time is that our mind is off in thinking. So I'm cooking the meal, but I'm just thinking about this and this and this and what I've got to do later on, and maybe thinking about how good the meal will be when we get to it finally. And all that thinking means that I'm in my thinking head, not in my sensing head, which is maybe the next one we should get to.
Sure.
But we don't even know that if we don't have that awareness of our mind's activity. And a meditative practice gives us awareness of our mind's activity. So I can be cooking and go, whoa, Ken, look what your thoughts are doing. Your mind is just in thinking mode right now. Never would have noticed that if I didn't have some practice of mindfulness in that self-awareness.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also important to notice that probably 9 times out of 10, if you find yourself thinking and you catch yourself in a thought, you probably were not present in your small moment.
Yeah, pretty guaranteed. Pretty guaranteed.
So you wanted to talk about
This is, yeah, sensing versus thinking.
Yeah.
Because this is this is the main aspect probably of mindfulness. And it's a basic awareness thing that we train forest monks in and out in the woods, is recognizing that basically your mind can be in one state. It can be in sensing state, or it can be in thinking state.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in sensing state, when I'm fully immersed in my senses, there's little or no thinking going on. When I'm really thinking, I'm in my thinking state, we can be pretty unaware of our environment. It takes a pretty strong sensory input to snap us out of that sometimes. So we're in sensing, we're in thinking. That's simplified a little, but that's essentially it. And when we're in thinking mode, if we're not doing it consciously, maybe we think of thinking as a tool that we bring out for specialized activities. So it's useful sometimes, but often it gets in our way because it blocks out the sensing. So now, instead of smelling the herbs that I'm chopping, feeling the handle of the knife that I'm chopping with, reveling in this whole experience of cooking, maybe talking to you across the way because you're chopping something else and preparing another part of the meal, instead of sensing that and being there, I'm off in la la land, thinking land.
Yeah. Well, so I think it's useful to use this as a practice then to come back into our senses and take a moment, multiple moments throughout the day, and maybe just narrow it down to just one sense and say, oh, look, I was just totally caught in my thinking, and I'm going to practice just closing my eyes and listening for a second. I'm going to hear what I hear, the fire crackling and the wind outside and the oak leaves that still haven't fallen. And as you start to do that, it just totally shifts your whole, I feel like not just our mind, but our physiology. Our mind and our body are so interconnected that we enter just such a different space. And so that would be one great practice, is coming into, I'll just say, a sense.
You can think of this like a treasure hunt. Every small experience, all these little wasted experiences of blah, all of them have some sensory treasure in them. It might be a tactile sensation. It might be something you hear or smell or taste. It might be something you see. If you start seeking out those sensory treasures within the small moments, then, whoa, we start to find, oh, there's something here. There's something that I've been missing. And of course, there's lots of treasures in each one of those experiences. But this is a perfect way to delve into this, to start out on this journey, is to open yourself to one sense, doesn't matter what it is, and reach in and see what treasure's waiting for you there, and allow that to lead you to other treasures within that given small moment. There's another trick here that we can use, right, to bring us into this small moment enjoyment.
Well, okay. I think that for me personally, I do a lot of exploring of what are my perceptions, how are they opening or closing my experience of the world. But a lot of that I do really quietly. And so for me, this next quote exercise or whatever you will is a little bit challenging, but I'm going to invite you into it because I think it's very powerful. And I think once we've been meditating and we have an awareness of these things, now we know, okay, they're small moments and I have choices with what to do with them. We need to put into practice paying attention throughout our day. How am I treating my small moments? Am I present for this one moment? Am I savoring this one moment? And noticing when we are and noticing when we're not. And then when we notice that we're not, to in some way vocalize that we aren't, or even better, because I think in some way words affect what we think and how we see the world. Restating, okay, so I'm going along and I'm just mindless and chopping the herbs, whatever. And like, oh my gosh, wow, I've just been totally thinking. I haven't been paying attention in this moment. And I can just say out loud, okay, I'm committing to this next moment of just smelling these herbs, or I am committing to being back in this small moment, and this is the only moment that there is in my life, and I'm going to live it. And literally saying that out loud. If there's another person, you can say that to them. You could have a practice together. If you are alone, say it to yourself, but say it out loud, because I feel like our ego gets really sneaky and decides, oh, well, I'm doing all of this, and oh, I'll just say it in my head. I'll tell you, at least for me, when I do that, that's not enough. 2 seconds later, I'm already back down the thinking path, because I did what I was supposed to do. But when I say it out loud, it feels really weird. At least I do.
Yes.
But it stops everything in a weird way.
I totally agree. So I wonder if we could get in with brain scans, we'd find that when we think words, maybe it's accessing a little different part of our brain than when we speak words. Because when we speak, maybe it is just making us feel kind of weirdly, slightly uncomfortable. When we speak, it does seem to close off other thoughts. So there's just the words. Now, it's maybe not optimal in that sense that we're adding words up onto the experience, but it's so much better than being lost just in our thoughts. And so I've had times when I'm alone when I will just narrate the whole experience if I really want to be there and practice some mindfulness. Say, now I'm chopping mushrooms. If my mind starts to go, I'm chopping mushrooms. Now I'm going to shred some cheese. I'm picking up the cheese. Then I'm shredding the cheese. Look at that.
We really kind of have to retrain ourselves to be in that moment.
It does. It's a retraining process of getting ourselves out of that just habitual mindlessness.
Yeah.
That's pretty prevalent. I mean, even if you and I, who have practices, find ourselves lost in that, I would say quite often, right?
It's so very, very easy. I mean, one last bonus, I guess I'll throw in.
Nice. We like bonus ones.
Is that our consumption of, I'll call it media, but essentially whatever. And it could be what we read in the newspaper or a magazine or a book. It could be the radio that we listen to, whatever. Social media, obviously, and all of the things that we would find, YouTube, Instagram, etc. They have.
This is where I should plug our YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, go follow us. It's so weird sometimes to be on here, trying to tell people don't be on here. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. We're not trying to say like don't be on here, but it's just so weird to use something to try to whatever, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, the point is that taking breaks from those things, and it doesn't even have to be a whole day media fast. You could say, you know what? I do want to get in with my cooking. I want to get in with my cooking, and I want to be there, and I am turning off my phone from now and all the small moments until after everything is clean in the kitchen. I've eaten the meal with my family, but I've cooked and I've been there. And just for a little bit, give yourself airspace, okay? It's like we are all traffic control in our lives these days. And I mean it. We've got like cell phone calls and texts and, whatever they call them, notifications. And we literally have this cloud about us of technology.
Do you remember?
Sorry.
Do you remember when the over 70 crowd, this was not that long ago, was those teenagers, they're just always on their smartphones. Now, it is rare to see somebody in their 70s, 80s, or 90s who's not just constantly
really
texting and on their phones
than
the
I know.
teeny
That's a whole
bopper.
different thing, though, because our culture does not respect our elders, and that's a whole different issue. And of course, what are they going to turn to? I mean, that's a way to connect, but it is also an addictive thing. But anyway, I'm just going back to clear the airspace for a little bit so you can focus on each moment. At least give yourself a little bit of time. Be clear about it and just try it. Again, it does not have to be forever and ever.
So glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that's what's bonus.
Sitting there cooking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have our screens, and that just pulls us out of the experience. And those screens, as you say, are ubiquitous. And we walk around with them all the time. I was talking with the mail lady.
It's almost like
today.
You have an IV here.
Yeah, I was
Your
talking
gesture all the time.
We have this awesome mail carrier, Carol, and I was talking with her today about screens and such, and just how they're everywhere and they're so addictive, and they are kind of designed to pull us out of the small moments, to say there's something better waiting here.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. There's something better waiting here, and it is much like a drug. Here's your dull life. Here's something better waiting. Shoot this up.
But you can't
Text
believe
this,
in a
check
dull
out
life
this.
if you know that there are moments, that any moment could be an amazing moment, and that you have control of it. If you practice it, you have control of what you think of each moment and how you experience each moment. And the more of those small moments that you start to treasure, the more you don't need that other stuff to fill you up. You can use it if you want to, but it doesn't need to use you. And that way you get a real, at least some of the time, a real chance to just interact with what is going on in the moment that you're in.
We cannot stress this enough. There is a treasure trove of life that is hidden from almost all of us. There's things like hygge. You love that word. Those moments, lighting a candle and just being there with your family.
Just the word makes me feel so relaxed.
That are almost lost because we are so distracted. We're so trying to get to that next thing. And this is an age-old problem. Buddha was the dude talking about this long time ago.
Yeah.
3,000 years ago or something?
I don't know. Anyway.
Talking about it a long time ago, that we are divorced from the goodness of life. That we've left that behind and we've given it up for something that we've been told is better, but is infinitely, I can say this from personal experience, is infinitely less valuable. Infinitely less awesome. That basically sucks. We've been like, here, give me this treasure and I will give you this doggy do. Isn't that pretty, doggy do?
Oh gosh. The one thing that I want to say before we wrap up is that when you start paying attention to the small moments, you have to slow down. Okay? When we have the disposable small moments, we're just rushing. We're trying to give me the end thing that I want. And we rush. We're rushing. Reminds me of seeing people who are behind us. We're in traffic and they're like, and they're get around me. And then there's a stoplight. And they're like right in front of me. Stopped.
Or they pull into something.
Like, okay, you couldn't have waited literally 15 seconds. And that's, who knows? They have whatever they have going on. I'm not going to judge beyond how it influences me to think, wow, I just want to slow down. And that is one of the amazing side benefits of treasuring your small moments, of showing up for them, of being present for this one moment, is that you slow down. And the beauty of slowing down is that you get way more life. You can have a day where boom, it just is gone. But you can have a day, especially when you string all those small moments together, that feels almost endless. And you go, oh wow. You sit down to go to bed and you think, oh, I did that this morning? That was this morning? It feels like it was about 2 days ago. And it's just a really wonderful, wonderful little perk of paying attention to right where you are.
One of the greatest benefits. There's many theories about why as we get older, life speeds up until the years just seem to be flipping by. And, the idea that it's a percentage of our life kind of, I'm going to say right now, that's all a load of crap. Because I can say from personal experience, 100% that...
And you're at least half a century old.
I'm at least half a century old. That I can completely alter my perception of time. And that when I get myself trained into the mindlessness, and that's basically as we get older, what's happening is we're just trained more and more into mindlessness, unless we have developed a strong practice, then life goes faster and faster and faster. You're like, wow, where did that day go? When I'm in my mindfulness state and mind practice, I can alter the perception of time almost at will, and days can go by so richly and slowly. It's not slowly as in Most of us maybe hear that and
Oh,
think,
yeah. Oh,
oh
gosh.
gosh, I want the day to just bust by
Yeah.
because, I'm at work or whatever. Wherever you are, there's moments, there's treasures. And it's okay to take it slowly because then you get to experience it. If you're rushing, you're just rushing to your death, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what's the big point there? The point is this life we're living. So take it slow. And that comes through mindfulness. It comes through being present in the small moments, 100%. Wow.
I mean, I
There
think.
we go.
Yeah, we've done the unabridged version now.
The lighting is kind of dimmed. It's gotten sort of cool
It's very
and glowy.
moody. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could be almost in some kind of a magical.
Yeah, we should be doing a different
Curiosity
podcast on the occult or something like that.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Or Tolkien's world. There's some cool things that we could do with this.
Yeah.
This
Like medieval literature.
Yeah.
So now.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Chaucer.
Chowder?
Chowder.
Chowder? I know who Chaucer is.
Okay, so
He
just
wrote a
stop.
play.
Please, just.
Okay.
Uh,
Poem?
we always want to hear. We always want to hear from you. Oh my gosh, my voice.
A ballad.
Can you please? We always want to hear from you, and how you experience small moments and what you think about. Okay, you're gonna have to talk.
Okay. She usually does this part, but frogs
It's the occult.
in the throat. I did that on purpose because I wanted the glory of this last moment here. Share with us in the comments all of your thoughts and ideas about this. Whoa!
Oh,
holy cow! What's going on?
We don't have enough battery in our phone.
Oh, okay.
We better say
Love
goodbye.
to you all.
It's the darkness.
We'll talk with you in the comments.
Love to you all.